Sarah Mitchell's knuckles turned white as she gripped the steering wheel, her Mercedes idling in the underground parking garage of Sterling Tech Solutions. The fluorescent lights flickered above, casting shadows that danced across her dashboard like mocking specters. She couldn't move, couldn't breathe, couldn't process what had just happened in that conference room. "Ms. Mitchell, I'm afraid we're going in a different direction." The client's words replayed in her mind like a cruel recording stuck on repeat. She'd spent 3 months on that presentation. 3 months of late nights, missed bedtimes with Emma, cold dinners eaten at her desk. And it still wasn't enough. Her phone buzzed, a text from her boss, Richard, "My office tomorrow, 9 a.m. Sarah's stomach twisted. She knew what that meant. In the corporate world, those 4 words were a death sentence delivered in digital form. She'd seen it happen to colleagues, the quiet meetings, the HR presence, the cardboard boxes carried out at 5 p.m. on a Friday. At 34 years old, Sarah had thought she'd figured it out. Graduate from Stanford, check. Land a prestigious marketing position, check. Marry her college sweetheart, check. Have a beautiful daughter, check. But life had other plans. The divorce 2 years ago had shattered her carefully constructed world like a hammer through glass. Michael had left her for someone younger, someone less intense, someone who actually smiled once in a while. Those words had cut deeper than the infidelity. Sarah forced herself to start the car. The dashboard clock read 5:47 p.m. She was late, again. Emma's daycare closed at 6 and they charged $1 per minute for late pickups. Last month's bill had an extra $47 on it. Not that Sarah couldn't afford it. Her salary was comfortable, but the judgment in the daycare director's eyes hurt more than the money. She peeled out of the parking garage, merging into Portland's evening traffic. Rain pelted the windshield, the wipers struggling to keep up. Of course it was raining. It was always raining in Portland. The gray skis matched her mood perfectly. Her mind wandered as she drove. When had she become this person? When had she started measuring her worth in quarterly reports and client approvals? When had she stopped recognizing herself in the mirror? Sarah pulled into Little Sprouts daycare at 6:03 p.m. $3. She grabbed her purse and rushed inside, her heels clicking against the linoleum floor. The hallway smelled of crayons and disinfectant, a combination she'd grown to associate with guilt. "Ms. Mitchell," Mrs. Chen, the director, greeted her with that look, that pursed lip, raised eyebrow look that said again, without saying anything at all, "I know I'm sorry, traffic was." Emma's in the reading corner. Sarah found her daughter curled up on a bean bag, a picture book open in her lap. Emma's dark curls, so much like Sarah's own, fell across her face as she traced the pictures with her finger. She was talking to herself, narrating the story with all the dramatic flair of a 3-year-old. And then the bunny said, "I love you to the moon and back," and the mommy bunny hugged him forever and ever. Sarah's heart clenched. When was the last time she'd read Emma a bedtime story? Really read it, not just rush through the pages while thinking about tomorrow's meetings. "Emma, sweetie, time to go." Emma's head snapped up, her face lighting up like Christmas morning. "Mommy!" She scrambled off the beanbag and launched herself into Sarah's arms. The impact nearly knocked Sarah backward. "I missed you so much. I made you a picture. Wait, I have to get it." Emma wriggled down and ran to her cubby, pulling out a crumpled piece of construction paper covered in crayon scribbles. "It's us at the park. See? That's you and that's me and that's the big slide." Sarah studied the drawing. 2 stick figures, one tall, one small, standing under what might have been a sun or possibly a deformed spider. She couldn't tell. "It's beautiful, baby." They walked to the car hand in hand, Emma chattering about her day. "And then Tyler took my red crayon, but I didn't cry because Mrs. Chen said sharing is caring. And then we had graham crackers, and I ate mine in the shape of a star. And did you know that stars are really far away but we can still see them?" Sarah buckled Emma into her car seat, barely registering the words. Her mind was already racing ahead. What would she say to Richard tomorrow? Could she salvage this? Should she start updating her resume? Mommy. Yes, honey. Are you listening to me? Sarah met her daughter's eyes in the rearview mirror. Those big, brown, innocent eyes that saw everything. Of course, sweetie. What did I just say? Sarah's mouth opened, closed, nothing came out. Emma's face fell. You're not listening, you never listen anymore. The words hit Sarah like a physical blow. Emma, that's not. And Mommy, Emma's voice grew smaller. Why is your face sad but your mouth happy? Sarah's breath caught in her throat. She looked in the rearview mirror again, really looked. Her reflection stared back, lips curved upward in what was supposed to be a smile, but her eyes were hollow, dark circles beneath them, tension lines around her mouth. A mask, she was wearing a mask. Emma reached forward, her small hand touching Sarah's shoulder. It's okay to be sad, Mommy. Mrs. Chen says feelings are like weather, sometimes sunny, sometimes rainy. You don't have to pretend the rain isn't there. Tears blurred Sarah's vision. When had her 3-year-old daughter become wiser than her? When had Emma learned to see through the carefully constructed facade that fooled everyone else? Sarah pulled into their driveway and turned off the engine. For a long moment she just sat there, hands still on the wheel, rain drumming on the roof. Emma hummed softly in the backseat, that off-key version of Twinkle, Twinkle, Little Star she loved so much. And in that moment, something inside Sarah cracked. Not broke, cracked, like the first fracture in a dam before the whole thing gives way. She'd been so focused on holding it together that she'd forgotten how to actually be together. Tomorrow she might lose her job. Tomorrow her whole career might implode. But tonight, she had a 3-year-old daughter who could see through her masks and still loved her anyway. Come on, baby, Sarah said, her voice thick with emotion. Let's go home. As she unbuckled Emma and carried her toward the house, Sarah couldn't shake the feeling that something fundamental had just shifted. Her daughter had asked a simple question, but it had triggered something unexpected, a crack in the armor she didn't even know she'd been wearing. And once a crack begins, it's only a matter of time before everything comes tumbling down. Sarah's alarm screamed at 6:15 a.m., dragging her from a fitful sleep plagued by dreams of empty conference rooms and Emma's questioning eyes. She slapped the phone silent and stared at the ceiling, her stomach churning with dread. Today was the day. The meeting with Richard. The conversation that would likely end her career. She'd rehearsed her defense 100 times during the sleepless night. The client's expectations were unrealistic. The market shifted. My team needed more resources. But every excuse tasted like ash in her mouth because deep down, she knew the truth. She wasn't the same hungry, passionate marketer Sterling Tech had hired 5 years ago. That woman had been buried under layers of bitterness and exhaustion. Mommy, I'm awake, Emma's voice sang out from down the hall. Sarah dragged herself out of bed, muscles aching from tension. She found Emma already climbing out of her toddler bed, her hair a wild nest of tangles, clutching Mr. Whiskers, her threadbare stuffed cat. Good morning, sunshine, Sarah said, trying to inject enthusiasm into her voice. Morning, Mommy, can we have pancakes? Sarah glanced at the clock. 6:47 a.m. The meeting was at 9. How about cereal today, sweetie? Emma's face crumpled. But you always say cereal. You promised pancakes on Tuesday. Had she, Sarah couldn't remember. The days blurred together, an endless cycle of daycare drop-offs, meetings, pickups, microwave dinners, and collapsed bedtimes. This weekend, okay, I promise. Emma nodded, but the disappointment in her eyes was unmistakable. Another small promise broken, another tiny crack in their relationship. They went through the morning routine on autopilot. Sarah threw on her Navy power suit armor for the battle ahead, while Emma picked out mismatched clothes, a purple tutu over striped leggings and a shirt with a dinosaur eating pizza. Normally, Sarah would have insisted on something more coordinated, but today she didn't have the energy to fight. "You look beautiful, Emma." Emma twirled the tutu spinning around her, like a princess dinosaur. At 8:15 a.m., Sarah ushered Emma toward the car, her leather briefcase in one hand, Emma's backpack in the other. She pressed the key fob. Nothing. She pressed it again. Still nothing. Come on, Sarah muttered, yanking open the driver's door manually. She turned the key in the ignition. Click, click, click. Dead. No. Sarah slammed her hand against the steering wheel. The horn let out a pathetic, dying wheeze. "Mommy, why is the car sleeping?" Emma asked from her car seat. "It's not sleeping, it's—" Sarah caught herself. She was about to scream, about to completely lose it in front of her daughter. She took a shaky breath. "It's broken, honey." Her mind raced. She could call an Uber, but that meant getting Emma's car seat out, installing it in a stranger's vehicle, being late to drop her off, definitely being late to the meeting. She could call Richard and reschedule, but that would look weak, unprofessional. She could. "Need some help there, miss." Sarah's head whipped around. A pickup truck had pulled up to the curb, an old Ford, maybe from the 90s, with rust spots and a dented bumper. A man stepped out, probably in his 60s, wearing faded jeans and a flannel shirt. His face was weathered like old leather, deep lines around his eyes, a few days' worth of gray stubble on his jaw. Every instinct Sarah had developed living in a city screamed danger. Strange man, vulnerable woman with a child. She'd read the statistics, seen the news stories. "I'm fine, thank you," Sarah said, her voice clipped and cold. She turned back to the car, pretending to fidget with something. "That clicking sound's probably your battery," the man continued, undeterred. He stayed by his truck, as if sensing her fear and deliberately keeping his distance. "I've got jumper cables. Take 5 minutes, maybe less." Sarah's jaw tightened. She didn't need help from some random stranger. She could handle this herself. She always handled everything herself. But the clock on her phone read 8:22 a.m. "Mommy, is that man going to fix our car?" Emma's voice carried clearly through the open door. The man smiled, a gentle expression that crinkled his eyes. "If your mama says it's okay, I'd be happy to try, sweetheart." Something in his voice, patient, grandfatherly, without any edge or expectation, made Sarah's defenses waver. She looked at him again, really looked. His hands were calloused and oil-stained, working man's hands. He wore a wedding ring, a simple gold band worn thin with time. A veteran's cap sat on the truck's dashboard. Sarah swallowed her pride. "That would be very helpful, thank you." The man nodded and retrieved a set of jumper cables from his truck bed. Name's Robert Hayes. Lived 3 streets over for 32 years. "Sarah Mitchell." "Nice to meet you, Sarah. This your daughter?" "I'm Emma," Emma announced from the car. "I'm 3 years old and I like dinosaurs and Pringles. I mean princesses, and my cat Mr. Whiskers, but he's not real, he's stuffed, but I love him anyway." Robert chuckled, a warm, rumbling sound. "A dinosaur princess. Now that's something special." He opened Sarah's hood and peered inside. "When's the last time you had this battery checked?" Sarah blinked. I don't know. I just get the oil changed when the light comes on." Robert shook his head but didn't say anything judgmental. He positioned his truck, attached the cables with practiced efficiency, and started his engine. "Give it a few minutes to charge." They stood in awkward silence. Sarah checked her phone obsessively. 8:29 a.m. If this worked, she could still make it. Maybe. "You seem stressed," Robert observed quietly. "Big day." "You could say that." Sarah's laugh was brittle. "Possibly career-ending meeting in less than an hour." "That why you're wound tighter than a drum?" Sarah bristled at the familiarity, but before she could respond, Emma piped up. "Mommy's always stressed. She forgets to smile sometimes. Out of the mouths of babes, Sarah's cheeks burned. Robert was quiet for a moment. My wife used to tell me I carried the weight of the world on my shoulders, worked myself half to death trying to provide for our family, overtime, weekends, you name it, thought I was doing the right thing. He paused, his eyes distant. Missed my daughter's school plays, soccer games, first date. Blinked and she was grown and moving across the country. She's got kids of her own now. I barely know them. The words hung in the cool morning air. Sarah felt something twist in her chest. "Try it now," Robert said, gesturing to her car. Sarah slid into the driver's seat and turned the key. The engine roared to life. "There you go." Robert disconnected the cables and closed both hoods. "You'll want to drive it for at least 20 minutes, let that battery recharge, and get it checked soon. It's living on borrowed time." Sarah grabbed her purse, pulling out her wallet. "How much do I owe you for your time?" Robert held up a hand. "Nothing." "Please, I insist." "Tell you what," Robert said, leaning against his truck. "I don't need your money, but maybe," he glanced at Emma, who was watching them with wide, curious eyes, "maybe just remember this moment next time someone needs help. Pay it forward, that's all." Sarah's throat tightened. She nodded, not trusting her voice. Robert tipped his cap at Emma. "You take care of your mama, Princess Dinosaur." "I will," Emma waved enthusiastically. "Thank you for fixing our car, Mr. Robert." As Robert drove away, Emma pressed her nose against the window, watching his truck disappear around the corner. "Mommy." "Yes, baby." "Was he an angel?" Sarah watched the empty street where the old Ford had been. A complete stranger had stopped his morning to help her, expecting nothing in return. How many times had she walked past people who needed help? How many times had she been too busy, too stressed, too focused on her own problems to even notice? "Maybe he was, Emma," Sarah whispered. "Maybe he was." As she drove toward the daycare, her hands steady on the wheel, Sarah couldn't shake the image of Robert's face when he talked about his daughter. The regret in his eyes, the weight of missed moments. She glanced in the rearview mirror at Emma, singing softly to Mr. Whiskers. For the first time all morning, Sarah wondered if losing her job would really be the worst thing that could happen. Missing her daughter's childhood, now that would be a real tragedy. Sarah sat in Richard's office at 9:47 a.m., her coffee growing cold on the mahogany desk between them. The meeting hadn't gone as she'd expected. Not at all. "You're one of the most talented marketers I've ever worked with," Richard had said, leaning back in his leather chair. "But talent isn't enough anymore. You're burnt out, Sarah, and it's starting to affect the team." The words should have stung, but instead they felt like a strange relief, an acknowledgement of something she'd been denying for months. "I'm giving you 2 weeks," Richard continued. "Not a suspension, paid time off. Mandatory, figure out what you need. Come back ready to be the person we hired or—" He didn't finish the sentence. He didn't need to. Now at 11:23 a.m., Sarah sat in her car outside Emma's daycare, staring at her phone. 2 weeks. 14 days to fix whatever had broken inside her. To figure out how to be a good mother, a good employee, a good person. Her phone buzzed with notifications, emails piling up, Slack messages dinging, the world demanding her attention. She silenced it all and walked inside. "Ms. Mitchell," Mrs. Chen looked up in surprise. "Emma's pickup isn't until 5:30. "I know, I thought I'd take her for the afternoon, if that's okay." Mrs. Chen's expression softened, a rare smile crossing her usually stern face. "Of course, she'll be thrilled." Emma's reaction was everything Sarah needed. Her daughter's face transformed from concentration she'd been building a block tower to pure, radiant joy. "Mommy, you're here, in the middle of the day." Emma crashed into her legs, nearly knocking her over. "Is it a special day? Did I forget my birthday?" Sarah laughed, really laughed for the first time in days. "No, baby, I just missed you. Want to spend the afternoon together." "Yes," Emma grabbed her hand. Can we go to the park and get hot chocolate and see the ducks? Anything you want. They decided to stop at Brewhaven first, a trendy coffee shop in the Pearl District that Sarah usually avoided. Too crowded, too slow, too hipster. But Emma loved their hot chocolate with whipped cream, and today was about Emma. The line stretched nearly to the door. Sarah checked the time, 12:15 p.m. They had all afternoon, no rush. She could do this. Emma pressed against the pastry case, her breath fogging the glass. Mommy, look, they have cookies shaped like cats. Can I have one? Sure, sweetie. They shuffled forward in line. Sarah's phone buzzed in her pocket. She ignored it, buzzed again, and again. Mommy, you're doing the thing. What thing? The phone thing, where you're here but not really here. Sarah's hand froze halfway to her pocket. She was doing it again. Even now, even on Emma's special afternoon, she couldn't fully disconnect. You're right, phone staying in my pocket. They reached the counter after what felt like an eternity. The barista was young, maybe 22, with nervous energy and hands that trembled slightly as he took orders. His name tag read, Jake New Hire. Hi, welcome to Brewhaven. What can I get started for you? The words tumbled out in a rehearsed rush. I'll have a large vanilla latte with oat milk, and a small hot chocolate with extra whipped cream. Okay, so that's a large vanilla latte with regular milk. Oat milk, Sarah corrected. Right, sorry, oat milk, and a small hot chocolate, anything else? The cat cookie, Emma announced, pointing. And a cat cookie, Sarah added. Jake rang up the order, his hands shaking as he processed her card. Okay, we'll have that right up for you. Sarah moved to the pickup area. The cafe was packed, laptops everywhere, the hiss of the espresso machine, indie music playing too loud. A video call was scheduled for 1 p.m. She should at least check her email, see what fires needed putting out. Large vanilla latte for Sarah. That was fast. Sarah grabbed the cup and took a sip. Regular milk. Definitely regular milk. Her stomach, already sensitive to dairy, immediately protested. Excuse me, Sarah called out, her voice sharp. Jake looked up, his face already apologetic. I said oat milk, not regular milk. I'm so sorry, I'll remake it right away. How hard is it to get a simple order right? The words came out harsher than she'd intended. The cafe's ambient noise seemed to dim. People looked up from their laptops. Jake's face flushed red. I'm really sorry, ma'am, it's my second day and… I don't need your life story, I need my coffee made correctly. Sarah pushed the cup across the counter. Please. The please was an afterthought, sharp and insincere. Yes, ma'am, right away. Jake's hands trembled worse now as he dumped the coffee and started over. He knocked over a container of lids. They clattered across the floor. Sorry. Just the coffee, Sarah snapped. Emma tugged on Sarah's sleeve. Sarah looked down, ready to tell her to wait just a minute, but the expression on her daughter's face stopped her cold. Emma looked scared and disappointed. Mommy, Emma whispered, but in the now quiet cafe everyone could hear. You're being mean to the nice boy. The words hit Sarah like ice water. She looked around. Every single person in the cafe was staring at her. A woman in yoga pants shook her head slightly. A man in a business suit had his phone out, and for a horrifying moment, Sarah wondered if he was recording. Jake placed the new coffee on the counter, his eyes downcast. Here's your latte with oat milk, and I threw in an extra cookie for the little one, on the house. The kindness in the gesture after her cruelty made Sarah's cheeks burn with shame. I hurt that boy's feelings, didn't I? Emma asked, her voice small. Sarah knelt down to Emma's level, acutely aware that everyone was still watching. I did, baby. Mommy made a mistake. You should say sorry. Mrs. Chen says sorry fixes hurt feelings. Sarah stood up slowly. Jake was already helping another customer, trying to pretend she didn't exist. She waited until he finished. Jake. He looked up warily. Yes, ma'am. I'm sorry, that was completely uncalled for. You're doing a great job, especially for your second day. The words felt inadequate, too little too late, but they were genuine. Jake's expression softened slightly. Thank you, I appreciate that. Sarah took the coffee and cookie, and she and Emma found a small table by the window. Emma swung her legs happily, whipped cream dotting her nose as she sipped her hot chocolate. Mommy. Yes, sweetheart. Are you okay? You've been really angry lately, like all the time. Sarah's hands wrapped around the warm cup, but she felt cold inside. Have I? Emma nodded seriously. You get angry at other cars, and at your computer, and at the TV when it's loading, and at people who are just trying to help. Each observation was a small dagger. Sarah watched Emma take a bite of the cat cookie, completely unaware that she was delivering a devastating character assessment. You're right, Sarah said quietly. I have been angry, but it's not about the coffee or the cars or the slow computers. It's about other things. What things? How did you explain adult failures to a 3-year-old? How did you tell your daughter that you were drowning in your own inadequacy? Mommy's been worried about work, and when people are worried, sometimes they forget to be kind. Emma considered this, chewing thoughtfully. But Mr. Roberts said being kind is free. You don't have to pay for it, so you can be kind even when you're worried. Out of the mouths of babes, again. Sarah looked out the window at the busy Portland street. People rushed past, faces tight with stress, shoulders hunched against the drizzle. How many of them were just like her, so caught up in their own problems that they forgot basic humanity? Her phone buzzed in her pocket. This time she didn't even flinch. You know what, Emma? You're absolutely right. Being kind is free. And from now on, I'm going to try harder to remember that. Even when people mess up your coffee. Especially then. Emma beamed, whipped cream mustache and all. That's good, Mommy, because that boy looked really sad, and making people sad is the worst thing. Sarah glanced back at the counter where Jake was taking orders, his hand still shaking slightly. She'd made his already difficult day harder, added to his stress instead of easing it. All because of what? A mistake, impatience, her own inability to handle minor inconveniences. She thought about Robert that morning, a stranger who'd helped without hesitation, without complaint, expecting nothing in return. She thought about Jake, a young guy having a rough day, probably worried about making mistakes, doing his best in a thankless service job. And she thought about Emma, her beautiful, perceptive 3-year-old who saw the world with clarity that Sarah had lost somewhere along the way. Finish your hot chocolate, baby, Sarah said. Then we're going to the park to feed the ducks, and Mommy's going to turn her phone completely off. Really, completely off, like dead. Like dead. As Emma giggled and returned to her cookie, Sarah pulled out her phone. Before she powered it down, she opened her notes app and typed, "Being kind is free. Emma, age 3." Then she held down the power button and watched the screen go black. It felt like freedom. The afternoon sun broke through Portland's perpetual cloud cover as Sarah and Emma walked hand in hand toward Laurelhurst Park. Emma skipped beside her, still buzzing from the hot chocolate and cookie, chattering about the ducks they were going to feed. The brown ones are my favorite, but the white ones are pretty too. Do you think ducks have best friends, Mommy? I think they do. I think that one duck, the one with the funny walk, is best friends with the really fat one. They're always together. Sarah smiled, really listening this time. I think you might be right. They passed the duck pond where Emma threw torn pieces of bread with wild enthusiasm, her aim terrible, her joy infectious. An elderly couple on a nearby bench smiled at them, and Sarah found herself smiling back instead of looking away. Can we go to the swings now? Emma asked, wiping her bread-sticky hands on her tutu. Of course. The playground was busier than Sarah expected for a Thursday afternoon, a handful of other parents, some nannies, clusters of kids running wild. Emma made a beeline for the swing set, her favorite spot in the world. Push me to the sky. Sarah pushed, watching Emma's curls fly back with each arc, her daughter's laughter pure and unfiltered. For the first time in months, maybe years, Sarah felt present. Really, truly present. Not thinking about work, not worried about tomorrow, just here in this moment with her daughter. Then she noticed the woman. She sat on a bench about 30 feet away, near the edge of the playground. Late 50s, maybe early 60s, wearing layers despite the mild weather, a puffy jacket over a sweater over what looked like two shirts. Her hair was gray and tangled, pulled back in a messy ponytail. A overstuffed shopping cart sat beside her, filled with bags and bottles and mysterious bundles. The woman was talking to herself, her lips moving rapidly, occasionally gesturing at nothing. A few parents had shifted their children to the opposite side of the playground. Sarah's protective instincts kicked in immediately. She'd seen the news stories, read the articles about drug use and mental illness among the homeless population, heard the warnings about needles in parks. Emma, honey, let's try the slide instead. But I like the swings. I know, but Sarah glanced at the woman again. She was rocking slightly, still talking to herself. The slide looks fun today. Emma followed Sarah's gaze. Who's that lady? Just someone, come on, sweetie. But Emma, with the fearlessness of a 3-year-old who'd never learned to see people as threats, had already hopped off the swing. She walked straight toward the woman. Emma, no. Sarah lunged forward, her heart hammering. Emma stopped a few feet from the bench. Hi, I'm Emma. The woman's head jerked up, her eyes wide and startled. Up close, Sarah could see she had kind eyes, hazel with flecks of gold, despite the confusion written across her weathered face. Hello, the woman said, her voice rough from disuse. Are you okay? Emma asked with the blunt honesty only children possess. You look sad. Sarah reached Emma's side, placing a protective hand on her daughter's shoulder. Emma, we shouldn't bother. I'm not sad, little one, the woman interrupted gently. Just talking to my sister. She's not here anymore, but I still like to talk to her. Where did she go? Heaven, I suppose. That's what people tell me. Emma nodded solemnly. My goldfish went to heaven. His name was Bubbles. I was very sad. The woman's face softened. I'm sorry about Bubbles. It's okay. Mommy said he's swimming in a big ocean now with all the other fishies. Emma reached into her jacket pocket and pulled out a small bag of animal crackers, crushed and forgotten from daycare. These make me happy when I'm sad. Do you want one? Sarah's breath caught. She should stop this, should pull Emma away. This woman could be dangerous, unstable, on drugs. But Emma was already offering the bag, her small hand outstretched with absolute trust. The woman stared at the crackers as if Emma had offered her gold, her eyes filled with tears. You'd share with me. Sharing is caring, Emma said matter-of-factly. Mrs. Chen says so. With trembling hands, the woman took a single cracker, a lion Sarah noticed. Thank you, she whispered. Thank you so much. You're the first person who's looked at me, really looked at me in, I don't know how long. You're welcome. What's your name? Linda. My name is Linda. That's a pretty name. I like names that end with a because mine does too. Emma Linda. She giggled at her own observation. Linda laughed, a rusty sound that turned into a sob. You're an angel, you know that, a real angel. That's what I said about Mr. Robert. Emma turned to Sarah excitedly. Remember, Mommy, I asked if he was an angel. Sarah stood frozen, watching this exchange. Emma, her baby, her 3-year-old daughter, was showing more compassion, more humanity, more Christ-like love than Sarah had shown in years. While Sarah had been ready to pull Emma away, to protect her from this dangerous woman, Emma had seen only another person in pain. Shame flooded through her, hot and overwhelming. Linda, Sarah heard herself say, Would you like to sit on the bench? Emma loves the swings. Maybe you'd like to watch." Linda looked up at Sarah with such gratitude it hurt. I'd like that very much." They sat together, Sarah, Emma, and Linda, an unlikely trio. Emma returned to the swings and Sarah pushed her while Linda watched, that soft smile never leaving her face. "She's special, your daughter," Linda said. "Really special." "She is," Sarah agreed, her throat tight. "I had a daughter once." Linda's voice was distant. "Caroline, she'd be about 30 now. Haven't seen her in 8 years." "What happened?" Sarah asked gently. "Life happened, bad choices, worse luck. Lost my job, then my apartment, then my mind for a while." Linda laughed bitterly. "By the time I found it again, Caroline had given up on me. Can't blame her. I'd have given up on me too." Emma called out, "Look how high I'm going, Miss Linda." "So high," Linda called back, waving. Sarah thought about what Robert had said that morning about missing his daughter's childhood, about her own behavior in the coffee shop, how she'd treated Jake with such casual cruelty, about the way she'd instinctively pulled Emma away from Linda, seeing a problem instead of a person. "I'm sorry," Sarah said, for everything." Linda turned to her, confused. "For what?" "For walking past people like you every day, for not seeing you, for teaching my daughter, without meaning to, that some people don't matter." "But you didn't teach her that," Linda said, watching Emma soar on the swings. "Look at her, she sees everyone, she sees me. That's you, that's your doing." Sarah shook her head. "That's all her. I've been so busy being angry and stressed that I almost destroyed the best parts of her, almost taught her my fear instead of letting her keep her love." "Higher, Mommy, higher," Emma shrieked with delight. Sarah pushed harder and Emma flew, her laughter carrying across the playground. Other parents glanced over, some with judgment at Sarah sitting with that homeless woman, others with curiosity. Sarah didn't care anymore. "Miss Linda," Emma said when she finally tired of swinging, "do you have a place to sleep?" "Emma," Sarah started. "It's okay," Linda said. "I stay at a shelter sometimes when there's room." "That sounds cold. Don't you want a real house?" "Every day, sweetheart, every single day." Emma thought about this seriously. Then she did something that made both women's eyes water. She walked up to Linda, took off her favorite jacket, the purple one with the unicorn patch, and held it out. "Here, so you won't be cold." "Oh no, honey, I can't." "Please," Emma insisted. "It's my favorite, which means it's really warm, and sharing is caring." Linda took the jacket with shaking hands, holding it like a sacred object. "I'll take care of it, I promise." "I know you will." Emma hugged Linda's leg, quick and fierce, then skipped back to Sarah. "Can we come back tomorrow and check on Miss Linda?" Sarah looked at Linda, this woman she'd almost taught her daughter to fear, this woman who'd shown more gratitude for a handful of animal crackers than most people showed for anything. "Yes," Sarah said firmly, "yes, we can." As they walked home later, Emma's hand warm in hers, Sarah felt something fundamental shift inside her chest. Emma had walked up to a stranger everyone else avoided and seen only another human being who needed kindness. While Sarah had seen danger, Emma had seen opportunity, opportunity to share, to care, to love. "Mommy," Emma asked as they turned onto their street. "Yes, baby." "I think Miss Linda is lonely. Can we be her friend?" Sarah stopped walking and knelt down, pulling Emma into a tight hug. "You know what? I think we can. I think we should." "Good, because everybody needs friends." That night after Emma was asleep, Sarah sat on her couch with a glass of wine she didn't drink. She thought about Linda, about Jake, about Robert, about all the people she encountered every day whom she'd stopped really seeing. Her 3-year-old daughter was teaching her something profound. That compassion wasn't complicated. It wasn't about having time or money or resources. It was about seeing people, really seeing them. And Emma saw everyone. Sarah picked up her phone and Googled, homeless shelters, Portland volunteer opportunities. It was time to start seeing too. Sarah stood at Emma's bedroom door at 8:47 p.m., watching her daughter sleep. Mr. Whiskers was tucked under Emma's chin, one small arm wrapped around the worn stuffed cat. Her lips moved slightly, probably dreaming about ducks or dinosaur princesses or making friends with lonely strangers. The purple unicorn jacket hung over Emma's desk chair. Linda had insisted Emma take it back, but Emma had insisted right back that Linda could borrow it for a long time. Sarah's chest ached. She retreated to the living room, poured herself a glass of Pinot Noir, and sank into the couch. The house was too quiet. Usually she craved this silence, these precious hours after Emma's bedtime when she could catch up on work emails, review presentations, prepare for the next day's battles. Tonight the silence felt oppressive. Her laptop sat on the coffee table, closed. Her phone lay face down on the cushion beside her. For the first time in years, she had no desire to check either one. Instead, Emma's words echoed through her mind on an endless loop. Why is your face sad but your mouth happy? You hurt that boy's feelings. You're being mean to the nice boy. Everybody needs friends. Sarah took a long sip of wine, then another. The alcohol did nothing to quiet the growing storm inside her. When had she become this person? The question haunted her, demanded an answer she wasn't sure she wanted to face. She thought back over the day, Robert's unexpected kindness, her cruelty to Jake, Emma's fearless compassion toward Linda. Each moment felt like a mirror being held up to her face, reflecting an image she barely recognized. Sarah stood abruptly and walked to the hallway mirror, the one she passed a dozen times a day without really looking. She forced herself to look now. 34 years old, dark circles under her eyes that concealer couldn't fully hide, fine lines around her mouth from frowning more than smiling, her hair pulled back in a severe bun that gave her instant headaches. When had she started dressing like she was preparing for war instead of going to work? But it was her eyes that stopped her cold. Hard, that was the word. Her eyes had become hard. God, she whispered to her reflection, what happened to you? The wine glass trembled in her hand. She set it down on the hall table before she dropped it. Images flooded her mind, memories she'd been suppressing. 3 months ago, the server at that Italian restaurant who'd accidentally brought her chicken instead of fish. Sarah had sent it back with a sharp comment about reading orders correctly. The server had been near tears. Sarah hadn't cared. She'd been too busy complaining to Michael about his new girlfriend on the phone. 6 weeks ago, the elderly man at the grocery store fumbling with his wallet at checkout, counting out change with arthritic hands. Sarah had sighed loudly, tapped her foot, checked her watch dramatically. The man had apologized, his voice shaking with embarrassment. Last Tuesday, Marcus, the office janitor, had held the elevator door for her, trying to make small talk about the weather. Sarah had given him a tight smile and immediately pulled out her phone, signaling the conversation was over. He hadn't tried to talk to her since. Just yesterday, Emma had asked Sarah to play dolls before bedtime. Not tonight, sweetie, mommy has work. Emma's face had fallen. Sarah had barely noticed. Each memory was a stone dropped into her chest, weighing her down, making it hard to breathe. Sarah stumbled back to the couch and grabbed her phone. Her fingers moved almost automatically, scrolling through her texts, emails, social media, looking for what? Evidence that she was still a good person. Proof that someone somewhere thought she mattered beyond her productivity metrics. Her text thread with her college friend Rachel had nothing after September. 4 months of silence. Her last Instagram post was from August, a professional headshot with some generic quote about success. 12 likes, no comments. Her email inbox, 847 unread messages, not one of them personal. When was the last time someone had called just to talk? When was the last time she'd called someone for the same reason? Sarah's hands were shaking now. She set the phone down and pressed her palms against her eyes. The divorce had broken something in her, she could see that now. When Michael left, when he'd said those words about her being too intense and never actually happy, she'd built walls. Sky-high walls made of work achievements and busy schedules and perpetual motion. If she never stopped moving, never stopped achieving, never stopped controlling every aspect of her life, then she couldn't get hurt again. But in building those walls, she'd locked out everything else too. Joy, connection, spontaneity, kindness. Love. She'd been so focused on protecting herself that she'd stopped living. And Emma, beautiful, pure-hearted Emma, had been watching it all, absorbing it, learning from it. Sarah's phone buzzed. A text from an unknown number. "Hi, Ms. Mitchell. This is Jake from Brew Haven. I wanted you to know that what you did today, apologizing in front of everyone, that took real courage. My mom died 3 weeks ago and I've been barely holding it together. I almost quit today after our interaction. But then you came back and apologized, and your daughter was so kind, and it reminded me that good people still exist. Thank you for that reminder. I'm going to keep trying." Sarah read the message 3 times, tears streaming down her face. Jake's mother had just died. He was grieving, terrified, probably working because he needed the money or the distraction or both. And Sarah had made his pain worse, had added to his burden because she couldn't be bothered to show basic human decency over a coffee order. She thought she might be sick. Her phone buzzed again. Another message from Jake. "Also, your daughter is amazing. You must be doing something right." The sob that escaped Sarah's throat was animal-like, raw. She doubled over, her whole body shaking. Was she doing something right? Or was Emma amazing despite her, not because of her? Sarah stood on shaking legs and walked back to Emma's room. She sat on the floor beside her daughter's bed, watching the gentle rise and fall of her breathing. "I'm so sorry," Sarah whispered. "I'm so sorry." Emma stirred slightly, her hand reaching out in sleep. Sarah took it, her daughter's fingers impossibly small in her palm. 3 years old. Emma was only 3 years old, and already she understood kindness better than Sarah did. Already she saw the world with clarity that Sarah had lost somewhere in the wreckage of her failed marriage and crushing career pressure. But Emma's compassion hadn't come from nowhere. Sarah must have planted those seeds once, back when she was still capable of nurturing instead of just surviving, back when she still smiled with her whole face instead of just her mouth. That woman was still in there somewhere. Sarah had to believe that, had to believe she could find her way back. The clock read 11:34 p.m. Sarah knew she wouldn't sleep tonight. Too many thoughts, too many realizations, too many years of accumulated regret pressing down on her chest. But maybe that was okay. Maybe she needed this sleepless night, this dark night of the soul where she faced who she'd become and decided, really decided, if that was who she wanted to remain. Emma's words from the playground echoed back. Everybody needs friends. And Emma was right. Everybody did need friends, including, maybe especially, the barista you'd yelled at, the homeless woman on the bench, the slow cashier, the awkward janitor. Including yourself. Sarah squeezed Emma's hand gently. "Thank you," she whispered to her sleeping daughter. "Thank you for not giving up on me, for showing me there's still time to change, for being brave enough to be kind when I'd forgotten how." She stayed there on the floor beside Emma's bed until the first light of dawn crept through the curtains. And as the darkness gave way to morning, Sarah felt something shift inside her, not a complete transformation, but a crack, a fracture in the armor she'd been wearing. And through that crack, finally, light could get in. Sarah woke up on the floor beside Emma's bed, her neck stiff and her back aching. Sunlight streamed through the window, real sunlight, not Portland's usual gray filter. She checked her phone. 7:42 a.m. Emma was already awake, sitting up in bed, watching her with those perceptive brown eyes. "You slept on my floor, Mommy." "I did," Sarah's voice was hoarse from crying. "I wanted to be close to you." Emma smiled, that gap-toothed grin that could light up the darkest room. "That's nice. Can we have pancakes now? Real ones?" Sarah thought about her usual Friday routine, the rushed breakfast, the frantic drive, the carefully planned schedule. Then she thought about the 2 weeks Richard had given her. 2 weeks to figure things out. 2 weeks to change. "Yes," Sarah said, standing and stretching. "Real pancakes, the kind that take time to make." Emma's eyes went wide. "With chocolate chips." "With chocolate chips." They made pancakes together, Emma standing on a chair at the counter, helping Sarah measure flour and crack eggs, shell pieces and all, which Sarah didn't even fret about. They made a mess. Flour dusted Emma's nose, batter dripped on the floor, and it was absolutely perfect. "These are the best pancakes ever," Emma announced, syrup running down her chin. Sarah took a bite and realized her daughter was right. Not because the pancakes were particularly well made, she'd actually burned the first 2, but because they'd made them together, without rushing, without Sarah thinking about 17 other things. After breakfast, Sarah made a decision. "Emma, how would you like to run some errands with Mommy today?" "Boring errands." "Maybe, but we can make them fun." Their first stop was Brewhaven. Sarah's hands were clammy as she pushed open the door. The morning rush was in full swing. The line stretched nearly to the door, and the espresso machine hissed and gurgled. She spotted Jake immediately, moving more confidently than yesterday, though his hands still shook slightly when he handled multiple orders. They waited in line. Sarah's heart hammered. What if he didn't want to see her? What if her apology yesterday hadn't been enough? When they reached the counter, Jake looked up and froze. "Hi," Sarah said softly. "I got your text last night. I wanted to say," she paused, searching for the right words. "I wanted to say I'm sorry again, and to tell you that I think you're incredibly brave. Working through grief, trying something new, getting back up after people knock you down. That takes real strength." Jake's eyes reddened. "Thank you, that means a lot. And I brought you something." Sarah pulled out a card, handmade by Emma that morning, covered in crayon drawings of coffee cups and stars. Inside, Sarah had written, "Keep going. You're doing better than you think. Sarah and Emma." Jake took the card with trembling hands. I don't know what to say." "Say you'll keep showing up," Sarah said. "That's all." "Hi, Jake," Emma waved enthusiastically. "Mommy made me pancakes today with chocolate chips. Do you like chocolate chips?" Jake laughed, wiping his eyes. "I love chocolate chips." "Then we're friends." As they left with their coffee and hot chocolate made perfectly this time, Sarah felt lighter. One small act of kindness. One attempt to repair damage she'd caused. It wasn't much, but it was something. Their next stop was the office supply store. Sarah needed to pick up printer paper, a mundane errand she usually powered through in 5 minutes flat. Today she took her time. The cashier, a teenager with purple hair and multiple piercings, looked exhausted. Her name tag read Sky. "How's your day going?" Sarah asked as Sky rang up her items. Sky looked up, startled, as if no customer had ever asked her that before. It's okay. Long. I've been here since 6. "That's rough. What time do you get off?" "Not until 7 tonight." 13-hour shift, that's intense. Sky's defensive posture softened. "Yeah, saving for college, every shift counts." "What are you planning to study?" "Marine biology. I want to work with sea turtles." Emma perked up. "I like turtles, they're slow and friendly." Sky smiled, a real genuine smile. "They really are." Sarah added a candy bar to her purchase. "This is for you, for making it through those long shifts." Sky's eyes widened. "You don't have to." "I know, but you're working hard for your dream. That deserves recognition." As they walked out, Sky called after them. "Thank you, you just made my whole week." Emma squeezed Sarah's hand. "You made her happy, Mommy." We made her happy, Sarah corrected. They stopped at the grocery store next, the same store where Sarah had been so impatient with the elderly woman just days ago. Sarah's chest tightened as they walked in. An older man was working the checkout, slow, methodical, taking time with each customer. The line was long. Sarah used to avoid his register at all costs. Today, she chose it deliberately. They waited. Emma chatted about the ducks at the park. Other customers sighed and checked their phones. Sarah stayed calm, present. When they reached the front, the man, his name tag read Harold, smiled warmly. "Good morning, ladies." "Good morning, Harold," Sarah said. "How are you today?" He blinked, surprised. "I'm well, thank you for asking. And yourself?" "Better than I've been in a long time." As Harold scanned their items slowly, carefully, Sarah noticed his hands. They shook with what looked like early Parkinson's. Each item took effort, concentration. "Take your time," Sarah said gently. "We're in no rush." Harold's eyes glistened. "You're very kind. Most people—" He didn't finish the sentence. "Most people are stressed," Sarah said. "I know I was, but stress isn't an excuse for rudeness. I wish more folks thought like you." When Harold finished, he handed Emma a sticker, a golden star, for being so patient. Emma beamed. "Thank you, I collect stars." In the parking lot, Emma looked up at Sarah. "Mommy, you're different today." "Different how?" "You're smiling, like really smiling with your whole face." Sarah knelt down, pulling Emma into a hug. "You know what? You're right, and it feels good." That afternoon, they went to Laurelhurst Park. Sarah's heart raced as they approached Linda's usual bench. She was there, sitting in the same spot, the purple unicorn jacket wrapped around her shoulders despite the mild weather. "Miss Linda," Emma broke free and ran toward her. Linda's face transformed. "Emma, you came back." "I told you we would." Emma plopped down beside her. "Mommy, come sit." Sarah joined them, pulling out a paper bag. "We brought lunch. Nothing fancy, just sandwiches, chips, and cookies. We thought you might be hungry." Linda stared at the bag as if it contained treasure. You brought me food." "And I brought something else." Sarah pulled out a list of phone numbers, homeless shelters, job placement services, mental health resources, addiction counseling. "I don't know your situation, Linda, but if you want help, these people can provide it. No judgment, no strings." Linda took the list with shaking hands. "Why are you doing this?" "Because Emma taught me something. She taught me that everyone matters. Everyone deserves kindness. And I'm done walking past people who need help." They sat together for an hour, Sarah, Emma, and Linda, eating sandwiches and watching the ducks. Linda told them about her sister, about her daughter Caroline, about the job she'd lost and the apartment that had slipped away. "I'm going to call this number," Linda said finally, clutching the resource list. "The shelter program. I'm scared, but I'm going to try." "That's all anyone can do," Sarah said. "Try." As they walked home later, Emma swinging between Sarah's hands, Sarah felt something she hadn't felt in years: hope. She wasn't fixed. One day of kindness didn't erase years of hardness, but she was trying, she was changing, she was becoming someone Emma could be proud of. Someone she could be proud of. That night, Sarah tucked Emma into bed and read her 3 stories instead of 1. Emma fell asleep mid-sentence, Mr. Whiskers tucked under her chin, a smile on her peaceful face. Sarah kissed her forehead. "Thank you for saving me," she whispered. "Thank you for showing me how to be human again." And for the first time in 2 years, Sarah went to bed feeling like maybe, just maybe, everything was going to be okay. 3 weeks passed. 21 days of Sarah consciously choosing kindness over convenience, patience over productivity, presence over perfection. It wasn't easy. Old habits died hard. On day 4, she caught herself snapping at a delivery driver who was late. She stopped mid-sentence, apologized, and tipped him extra. On day 9, she almost walked past a woman struggling with a stroller on the Max train stairs. Emma's voice echoed in her head. Everybody needs friends. Sarah turned around and helped. On day 15, she received an email from a colleague criticizing her work. Her fingers flew across the keyboard typing a defensive response. Then she paused, deleted it, and wrote something gracious instead. Small changes, tiny corrections, but they were adding up. Now on day 22, Sarah sat in the parking lot of Sterling Tech Solutions, her hands gripping the steering wheel. Her mandatory 2 weeks off had ended. Today, she returned to work. Her phone buzzed. A text from Emma sent by the daycare teacher. Good luck today, Mommy. Remember to smile with your whole face. Love, Emma, followed by a photo of Emma grinning and giving a thumbs up. Sarah smiled, a real smile, and headed inside. The office felt different. Or maybe she felt different. The fluorescent lights that used to feel oppressive now seemed merely bright. The elevator small talk that used to annoy her now felt like opportunities for connection. Sarah, Marcus, the janitor, waved from down the hall. Good to see you back. Marcus, hey. Sarah walked toward him instead of past him. How's your daughter? Started her new job yet? Marcus's face lit up. Next Monday. She's nervous but excited. She's going to be amazing. She has you as a father. She knows what hard work looks like. Marcus blinked, his eyes getting misty. Thank you, Sarah, really. Sarah's assistant, Jennifer, nearly dropped her coffee when Sarah walked into the office. Oh, welcome back. How are you feeling? Better, Sarah said honestly. Much better. How have things been here? Actually, kind of great. I don't know how to explain it, but the energy's been different lately. Sarah unpacked her bag, puzzled. Different how? She'd been gone for 2 weeks. At 10:00 a.m., Richard's assistant called. He wants to see you. Sarah's stomach clenched. Here it came, the real conversation. The we're letting you go talk. She walked to Richard's office with her head high. Whatever happened, she wouldn't regret the past 3 weeks. She'd become a better person, a better mother. That was worth more than any job. Richard looked up when she entered, his expression unreadable. Close the door. Sarah sat down, folding her hands in her lap. So, Richard began, leaning back in his chair. I've been watching something interesting happen. Okay. Your team's productivity is up 12%. Sarah blinked. What? 12%, and more importantly, the morale surveys we ran last week. Your department scored the highest in the company. People are actually happy to come to work. He leaned forward. What happened while you were gone? I wasn't here. I don't understand. That's what's interesting. Richard pulled up his computer screen. I started looking at the data. 3 weeks ago, you sent an email to your entire team. Subject line, I owe you an apology. Sarah remembered. Day 3 of her transformation. She'd sent it at midnight, unable to sleep, finally acknowledging how she'd led through fear and pressure instead of support. You apologized for creating a stressful environment, Richard continued. You asked for feedback. You started doing one-on-ones where you actually listened instead of just assigning tasks. You praised people publicly. He paused. You became the leader we hired 5 years ago, the one I thought we'd lost. Sarah's throat tightened. I didn't do it for the numbers. I know, that's why it worked, Richard smiled. Sarah, I've been in this business 30 years. I've seen every leadership strategy, every corporate culture initiative. You know what actually works, genuine human kindness, and somehow in 2 weeks you figured that out. It wasn't 2 weeks, Sarah said quietly. It was my 3-year-old daughter. She saw who I'd become and showed me how to be better. Richard was quiet for a moment. Kids have a way of doing that. He cleared his throat. Anyway, I'm not just telling you this to pat you on the back. I'm telling you because something else happened. The Riverside Tech account, the one we lost. Sarah's heart sank. What about it? They called yesterday. They want to come back. Why? Richard pulled out his phone and read from an email. We've heard from multiple sources about the culture transformation at Sterling Tech. Several of your team members have been more engaged in industry forums, more positive, more collaborative. We want to work with a company that actually values its people, not just talks about it. Sarah sat in stunned silence. You changed the team by changing yourself, Richard said. And the team changed our reputation. That's leadership, Sarah, real leadership. Walking back to her office, Sarah felt like she was floating. People smiled at her in the hallways, genuine smiles, not the tight-lipped acknowledgments she used to get. Her team had decorated her desk with a "Welcome Back" banner. Jennifer approached tentatively. Is everything okay? Everything's, Sarah laughed, tears in her eyes. Everything's really good. That afternoon, Sarah attended a team meeting. Instead of dominating the conversation like she used to, she listened. Really listened. She asked questions. She praised ideas. She acknowledged mistakes, her own mistakes. Afterward, Tom, one of her senior designers, stopped her in the hallway. Sarah, I just want to say, whatever happened during your time off, keep doing it. This is the team I wanted to be part of when I joined. Thank you for giving that back to us. Sarah drove to pick up Emma with her heart full. She thought about the past 3 weeks, the small moments of kindness, the conscious choices, the daily practice of being present. She'd thought she was changing for Emma, but the ripple effects had spread far beyond her daughter. They'd touched Jake, Linda, Sky, Harold, Marcus, and now her entire team. Kindness wasn't just free, it multiplied. Emma ran to her at pickup, arms outstretched. Mommy, how was work? Sarah scooped her up, spinning her around. It was wonderful, baby, absolutely wonderful. Did you smile with your whole face? Sarah set Emma down and knelt to her level. You know what, I did, and Emma. Yeah. Your happy face and your sad face match now too. You're not worried anymore. Emma touched Sarah's cheek, her small hand warm and perfect. That's because you're really here now, Mommy. Not just your body, your heart too. Tears streamed down Sarah's face. When did you get so wise? I'm 3, Emma announced proudly. That's almost 4. They held hands walking to the car. Sarah thought about Robert's words from weeks ago. Pay it forward, she had, and it had come back to her tenfold. Mommy, can we go see Miss Linda? Absolutely. Want to bring her dinner? Yes, and I want to tell her about my day. I painted a butterfly, and it only has 3 wings because I ran out of room, but Mrs. Chen said it was beautiful anyway. As Emma chattered on, Sarah realized something profound. She'd spent years chasing success, measuring her worth in achievements and approvals and quarterly reports. But real success was this: a daughter who believed in kindness, a team that felt valued, a homeless woman who had hope, a grieving barista who kept showing up. Real success was being someone Emma could look up to. Being someone she could look up to. And for the first time in her life, Sarah felt like she was succeeding at the things that actually mattered. 6 months later, Sarah stood in Brew Haven on a crisp Saturday morning in late October. The coffee shop had become part of her weekly routine, not just for coffee, but for connection. The usual Sarah, Jake called from behind the counter, his confidence now evident in every movement. He was no longer the trembling new hire. He was assistant manager, his name tag gleaming with pride. You know it, and 1 hot chocolate with extra whipped cream. Emma pressed her nose against the pastry case, now tall enough to see without standing on tiptoes. Can I have the pumpkin cookie today? Of course, sweetheart. While waiting for their order, Sarah noticed a woman at a corner table, laptop open, stress radiating from her hunched shoulders. She typed furiously, paused to rub her temples, then typed again. Her coffee sat untouched, probably cold. A little girl, maybe 4 years old, sat across from her, coloring quietly, occasionally glancing up at her mother with concerned eyes. Sarah's chest tightened. She saw herself 6 months ago in that woman's face, The tension, the exhaustion, the woman who'd forgotten how to be present. Jake handed over their drinks. "Hey, Sarah, see that woman over there?" He nodded toward the stressed mother. "She's a regular now. Comes in every Saturday, works the whole time. Her daughter always looks so sad." "What's her name?" "Angela. She's nice when she's not stressed, which is not often." Sarah watched as the little girl tried to show her mother a drawing. "Mommy, look." "Not now, sweetie. Mommy's working." The little girl's face fell. She went back to coloring, shoulders slumped. Emma tugged Sarah's sleeve. "That girl looks lonely." "She does, doesn't she? Should we help her, Mommy?" Sarah smiled at her daughter, her beautiful, compassionate, world-changing daughter. "What do you think we should do?" Emma thought carefully. "Show her she's not alone." "Perfect." They approached the table slowly. The woman, Angela, looked up with that familiar expression, part annoyance at being interrupted, part exhaustion. "Hi," Sarah said gently. "I don't mean to intrude, but I wanted to tell you, I used to be you. 6 months ago, I was exactly where you are right now." Angela's defensive posture softened slightly. "What do you mean?" "Stressed, overwhelmed, so focused on work that I forgot to see my daughter." Sarah gestured to Emma, "until she showed me what I was missing." The little girl looked up, interested now. "I'm Angela," the woman said, her voice cracking slightly. "This is Lily." "I'm Emma," Emma waved. "Want to see my sticker collection? I have 17 stars." Lily's eyes lit up. "I like stars too." "Can I show her, Mommy?" Sarah nodded, and the girls moved to the window seat, immediately absorbed in Emma's prize sticker book. Angela watched them, tears welling in her eyes. "I'm drowning," she whispered. "Single mom, deadline this afternoon, no childcare because the babysitter canceled. I thought I could work while Lily colored, but I can't focus. I'm failing at everything." "You're not failing, you're surviving, I know because I've been there." Sarah sat down across from her. "Can I tell you something?" Angela nodded. 6 months ago, my 3-year-old asked me why my face was sad but my mouth was happy. That one question changed my entire life. It made me realize I was wearing a mask, pretending to be okay when I was falling apart. "What did you do?" "I started small, chose kindness over efficiency, presence over productivity. It was hard, so hard, but it saved me, and it saved my relationship with my daughter." Angela wiped her eyes. "I don't know if I can. The pressure, the bills, the constant juggling." "I'm not saying it's easy, but what's harder? This." Sarah gestured to the laptop, the untouched coffee, the lonely little girl. "Or taking a breath and being here, really here." Jake appeared with 2 fresh coffees and cookies. "On the house, ladies, and Angela. Your deadline can wait an hour, trust me." Angela looked at the coffee, at Lily giggling with Emma, at Sarah's understanding face. Something inside her broke, or maybe it cracked open, letting light in. "Okay," she whispered, 1 hour." She closed the laptop. Sarah stayed with Angela for that hour. They talked about motherhood, stress, survival, and the guilt that came with all of it. Their daughters played, building an elaborate story about space princesses and dinosaur astronauts. When Angela finally packed up, she hugged Sarah tightly. "Thank you, you have no idea what this meant." "I do, actually. Someone helped me when I needed it most. Now I'm passing it forward." As Angela and Lily left, Emma climbed into Sarah's lap. "Did we help her?" "We did, baby." "Good, because that's what friends do." The door chimed and Sarah's heart skipped. Linda walked in, wearing clean clothes, her hair neat, her face transformed. "Linda," Emma jumped down and ran to her. "Emma and Sarah," Linda's smile was radiant. "I was hoping I'd find you here." Sarah noticed immediately. Linda looked different, healthy, hopeful, alive. "I got the job," Linda said, her voice trembling with emotion. "At the shelter where I was staying. They hired me as a peer counselor. I start Monday." Sarah's eyes filled with tears. Linda, that's incredible. And I called Caroline, my daughter. We talked for 3 hours. She's coming to visit next month. Linda's voice broke. She said she's proud of me. After everything, she's proud of me. Jake appeared with a coffee. This one's on me, Linda. Congratulations. Linda hugged Jake, then Sarah, then Emma. You saved my life, all of you. Emma shared her crackers, and that one moment of kindness reminded me I was still human, still worthy of love. You were always worthy, Sarah said. You just needed someone to help you see it. They sat together, Sarah, Emma, Linda, and Jake on his break. The coffee shop buzzed around them, but their corner felt like a sanctuary. Marcus walked in, his daughter beside him, the college graduate Sarah had heard so much about. Sarah, I thought that was you. Marcus waved them over, introducing his daughter, Maya. Maya, this is the woman I told you about, the one who actually saw me. Maya shook Sarah's hand warmly. Dad talks about you constantly. He says you changed the whole culture at Sterling Tech. Sarah blushed. I just remembered how to be kind. Your dad taught me more than I taught him. They all stood there. Sarah, Emma, Marcus, Maya, Linda, Jake. An unlikely family brought together by kindness. A woman approached timidly. It was Sky, the cashier from the office supply store, now with different colored hair, blue instead of purple. Sarah, I don't know if you remember me. Sky, of course, how's college? Sky's face lit up. I'm starting in January, marine biology program at Oregon State. I saved enough and she paused, emotional. That day you bought me candy and asked about my dreams. I was about to quit school, give up. But you made me feel like my dreams mattered, so thank you. Sarah couldn't speak. She pulled Sky into a hug. Emma tugged her sleeve. Mommy, look. Sarah turned to see Angela and Lily outside the window, waving. Angela was smiling, really smiling, holding Lily's hand, her laptop bag forgotten on her shoulder. In that moment, Sarah understood something profound. She thought Emma's simple question, why is your face sad but your mouth happy, had triggered an unexpected reaction in just her. But it hadn't stopped there. It had rippled outward like a stone dropped in still water. Sarah to Jake, Sarah to Linda, Emma to everyone, Linda to other shelter residents, Jake to every customer he served, Marcus to his team, the team to their families, on, circles within circles, kindness multiplying exponentially. One 3-year-old's observation had set off a chain reaction that changed dozens of lives. Mommy, Emma said, looking up at the assembled group, we have a lot of friends now. Sarah laughed through her tears, looking around at this beautiful, improbable community. We really do, baby. And you know what? What, sweetheart? Your happy face and your mouth match all the time now. Even when you're sad, you're real. That's better than pretend happy. Sarah knelt down, pulling Emma close. You know what you did, Emma? What? You saved me. Your words, your kindness, your way of seeing people. You showed me how to be human again. Emma giggled. I'm just 3, Mommy, almost 4. I didn't do anything special. But that's the thing, baby. Sometimes the smallest voices carry the most powerful truths, and your voice changed everything. As they walked home that evening, hand in hand, past the park where they'd first met Linda, past the grocery store where Harold still worked checkout, past the office building where Sarah now led with her heart instead of fear, Sarah felt complete. She'd spent years measuring success in all the wrong ways, but real success wasn't in quarterly reports or client wins. It was in this: a daughter who saw the world with compassionate eyes, a community built on kindness, and the knowledge that one person, even one 3-year-old person, could change the world by simply choosing love. Emma skipped ahead, singing her off-key version of Twinkle, Twinkle, Little Star. And Sarah followed, smiling with her whole face, her heart matching her expression at last. The end.